And a very warm welcome to the Cappuccino Club's social TV channel. An empowered woman is someone who knows her strengths and isn't afraid to embrace it. And so we invite you to join us on our COVID-19 conversations series that aims to inspire, encourage, and empower through conversation. Thank you for joining us, and don't go away. We'll be right back. If you're just joining us, a very warm welcome to the Cappuccino Club social TV channel. I'm your host, Bridgetti Banda from Cape Town in South Africa. We've been running a series of conversations about COVID-19. We're on day 44 in Cape Town, South Africa. I feel like I need to pinch myself. Can't believe we're there already. And so a hearty warm welcome to my co-host, Viola Manuel. Viola, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bridgetti. It's like I said, the days are just starting to fuzz together. It's like a collective of days. It's not even, it's just like not ticking over. But it's been, I think we're starting to settle into this, the reality of whatever this is, and it's becoming sort of part of the way we do things. Like you're just grabbing your mask if you need to go out. You're just doing things the way it should be done, I'm hoping.
Yes, absolutely. And before we continue, I do want to say a warm welcome to everyone who's joining us live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. Thank you for joining us, and you're going to enjoy this. A lot of us are starting to feel the reality of COVID-19 in a big way. I've had my own challenges. I know you've had some, and everybody's got challenges, and we starting to come to terms with how do we deal with the emotions we are feeling, because this, we've lost so much. We've lost our freedom, basically, to earn a living, our freedom to come and go as we please. That's got all kinds of consequences and impact on us. And so I'm really looking forward to our guest today.
Yes, me too. I mean, she's actually long overdue, but also maybe the timing's perfect because, we've sort of gone through the ebbs and tides of this whole thing. We've gone through ups and downs. It's a great opportunity for us to speak to somebody who's really in the know. She's an really well versed in her field. I would like to say she's an expert in her field, and she definitely knows what she's talking through. She's going through everything with us, so she can feel our pain. She's probably going to understand the pain points the way we do. So I'm really looking forward to talking to her.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Kerry Magnus makes use of specialized body, mind, and soul approach to overcoming stress-related body imbalance, trauma, chronic fatigue, and burnout. She helps clients to live conscious and authentic lives and to recognize imbalance and unhealthy patterns that create depletion and to take responsibility for better, healthier choices. And so her goal is to assist people and to ease their way out of dropping old patterns, beliefs, and armouring and adaptations. And so I think let's invite her onto the show because she's going to tell us a bit more about how we can cope with what we are currently experiencing with COVID-19. Let's invite her on.
Hi.
Kerry, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Good to have you with us. It's an absolute pleasure. So, we hear a lot about mindfulness coaches. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of our conversation today, tell us, what is a mindfulness coach? What is your day job and how do you help people?
So mindfulness to me is about being connected back to yourself in a more conscious way. Most of us tend to go through life very disconnected, where we don't even have an awareness quite how stressed we are. And, it amazes me. I have clients come and tell me that they can't sleep or they have stomach cramps, and they tell me a bit more, and I'll say to them, yes, I can see you have anxiety. And they'll say, oh, I never thought of myself as someone who's anxious. But we can't do anything about the anxiety if we don't know about it, if we don't recognize it in ourselves. And that is when we empower ourselves. So mindfulness is about connecting back to ourselves in a conscious way, to feel what's going on, to recognize what our triggers do to us, and to notice how we then respond, so we can actually choose to do something different.
Okay. So when you talk about triggers, could you define that for us? What would those triggers be? Because I'm assuming from the conversation that everybody's triggers would be different.
So it's interesting you say that. So yes, of course our triggers are going to be different, because we will have all had different upbringings and background experiences. So the more specific triggers will be different. For instance, someone might be particularly triggered by having to speak in this way, for instance, in a more public way, because they weren't allowed to have an opinion when they were younger. Someone may have particular triggers in a relationship around someone who is more controlling. But we also have some very basic triggers that are common to all of us. And it's those basic triggers which I'm noticing that in so many people at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So what would some of those very basic triggers be that are part of our new context?
So with the time we're going through right now, it's the fact is that it's a trauma, and it is very stressful. Stress and trauma, what they have in common is that we perceive that we have a low sense of control. And when I say perceive, what I mean by that is we may not necessarily have a low sense of control, but we feel as if we do. So for so many of us right now, we're feeling powerless, and that is a massive trigger. We're also feeling threatened at a very basic level. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right down at the bottom, we have the need to be safe. And our physical needs are being threatened by the coronavirus, the threat of the coronavirus, by possible loss of income, the changing way of the world. All of this is threatening. And that is a trigger because of our basic need for survival and security. So what I'm seeing is that so many people right now are being triggered on these levels of feeling powerless and feeling threatened, feeling that their safety is being threatened. And what I believe is that when we have a trigger in the present moment, 99% of the time we're not actually responding to it from our adult state. We respond to it as if we are children still, because it's the trigger of being overwhelmed and powerless. It started then. Just by mere fact of being a child, we have less control and less power. You don't have the same rights as adults. You don't have the emotional capacity and resources, so you are more powerless. So life generally for children is experienced as one of having not much control. And in that sense can be scary if there's not much emotional support. So unfortunately, many grew up emotionally disconnected, and they didn't know what to do with their anxiety and their stress. So when we as children experienced it, they would have maybe tried to shut us down or tell us to get over it or try and distract us. But anyway, the messaging would have been, that it is dangerous to feel these emotions, and that the emotions are obviously dangerous. And so we learn from a young age to suppress the emotions. And now something like this happens where these emotions are being triggered in such a big way, and we don't have the coping mechanisms because no one taught us how to actually manage it. And so many people are feeling powerless, overwhelmed, and very much like children, actually. I've been surprised how many people in their posts, their Facebook posts, have been speaking about the government treating them like children. It's so people are feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are, or most of us are aware that things are not well and we're feeling overwhelmed. How do we turn this, we've spoken a lot on this show about the word pivoting. How do we turn this around? How could we possibly turn this into an opportunity for growth instead of allowing ourselves to feel overwhelmed? Or how do we overcome those feelings of overwhelm?
So I'm going to talk to this in terms of what I call our masculine and feminine qualities. It's not saying that either is better, so I don't want to cause trouble here, but we all have within us a masculine and feminine. And we tend to live more in a masculine role to overcome our anxiety. So the masculine is being driven, being logical, rational, striving, pushing, and being in control. And this is valued in society. Achievement is valued, and being perfect is valued, and reaching your goals is valued. So oftentimes when people are feeling overwhelmed and powerless, they tend to use the fall back on their coping mechanisms of those kind of behaviors. Then result in even further overwhelm and depletion and exhaustion, actually, because we realize that as we can't control all these things we're trying to control. We just see even more so how powerless we are when we try and be on top of everything and don't manage. So for me, the pivoting comes when we learn to stand more in our feminine. And what that means, and in fact, I really believe that this time is calling us deeply to turn more towards a feminine way of life. It is the ability to live in the unknown, to live with the uncertainty, and to birth something new from that. But to do that, we have to let go of our expectations of our structures and these things we impose on reality. The masculine way is very much about imposing what we think should happen and how it should happen. And that's why we battle with the uncertainty. The feminine is about surrendering, accepting it as it is, creating space to embrace it as it is, to know that our feelings are not dangerous and scary, and to find a way of being with everything so we're not fighting it and resisting, because that's what just creates more overwhelm and a greater sense of powerlessness.
Wow. Kerry, can I ask you, would you say then that men are struggling more with our circumstances than women in general, and that women are adapting better? Is that a fair statement?
I don't know if it is. I think because, like I say, we all have the masculine and feminine within us. So women have become very much masculine. We've depended more on our masculine way of being. So we also need to have the answers and find the solutions and fix it and make it better, as much as men do. I think where it may affect men more is that they often see themselves as the provider, and they need to keep the family together and safe. And I do think that that's where it may be impacting men slightly more so than women in that respect. Yet women are also trying to hold everything, because women are very, very capable at the emotional holding. They hold all the details and the emotions of the children and the family, and they keep all the balls up in the air. So it's affecting women on that level, that they're trying to be perfect in that, because they feel like if they can do that, then they'll be okay. And that's a huge responsibility and very overwhelming.
We, Bridgetti, I don't know if you do remember, we had an amazing session as the Cappuccino Club, and we were speaking about how women in business specifically how things were changing, and how we initially, when I, for example, started my career, how we were almost all pushed into this masculine way, I'm going to use your terminology now, of being in control, being in charge, having all the answers, no nonsense kind of approach to things, very little room for negotiation. It was all sort of very black, very white. You just needed to do what you needed to do. You needed to stay in your lane, do what needed to be done, keep your head down, and achieve objectives and that kind of thing. And some of the ladies in the Cappuccino Club in that discussion were saying things were actually morphing for a lot of us as we got older. We started realizing that, it's okay. Own the fact that you are a woman in business. Understand that we operate differently. Embrace it. Adopt it. Talk about it. Highlight it to the people around you. We talk about the power of 3. Try and get more women onto the board. Make it your personal effort to get more women onto the board, etc., so that the influence of what we do is felt. Would you say that it's a fair assessment to say that people who are maturing or more emotionally evolved, I don't know if that's the right word, would find that ability to pivot much easier than those who are still sort of very caught up in this, I need to achieve, I need to do, I need to get it right, I need to meet the objectives?
Very much so. So I think ultimately where we want to be is we want to have the balance of the masculine side in connection with the feminine. So we're wanting to have the containment and the structure and clarity and the balanced drive of the masculine, with the ability to tune into our emotions and our intuition and allow ourselves to create from this more open. And what tends to happen then is that people start to live their truth more. And yes, as we get older, we stop being so afraid of living our truth, and we start to accept ourselves more. And basically in all of this, what I'm saying is that when we can get to that place of being more compassionate for ourselves and for the situation, and accepting as we are, accepting the situation as we are, it makes life a lot easier than the exhaustion that we put on wanting it to be different, trying to make things a certain way so we feel safe, trying to meet certain standards so we feel good enough so that we feel safe, which is all very overwhelming and exhausting in the long run.
So you've started or you've launched a challenge in your Facebook group to help people to cope better. Tell us a little bit about this challenge and how people could participate.
Right. So just to go, so I feel like I need to talk about what people can do to help to be more in that mindful space and to be more in that surrendered space. And one of those aspects is to take a regular time to slow down and to connect back to your body and back to yourself. So at the moment, many people are going to be in their heads, and they're going to have these looping thoughts that create a lot more anxiety, because we actually can't solve much with worrying. So there's certainly nothing wrong with being proactive and working out what we can do, but then letting go of what we can't. And it's that letting go part that's so hard. So if you can find a space every day, whether it's even just 10 minutes a day, to firstly to calm the nervous by slowing down, because we all are, our stress response right now has been triggered. We're all in mild fight and flight or even quite severe fight and flight for some people. And if we actually can get to a point where you don't even realize that that's your default. So slowing down helps you to see the difference between where you were and where you want to be. It helps you to also then feel more empowered because you're not spinning out in that stress space. And slowing down helps your fight-flight response in your nervous system to come back to your rest and digest place. When we're in rest and digest, we're able to create, we're able to imagine, because fight-flight is the hindbrain, and it just we have very limited capacity to think with our forebrain when we're in that place. When we're in a rested place, we can think more expansively, more creatively, we can imagine, we can hope, and that's where we can figure out how to pivot. That's where we can consider different options, different ways of being. And so it provides a lot more hope and empowerment. My self-care challenge, my self-nurture challenge is basically I wanted to help women to be accountable to that journey of that time every day. So it's a 5-day challenge. And every day I share a practice, a self-care practice in which they can find, it will help them to connect back to themselves and to slow down, like I said. And I also share a few other tips and tools along the way as well. And my hope is that it's just going to encourage people to do that slowing down, to become more conscious of what it feels like to slow down and to feel more empowered by doing it. And possibly even to start to realize that there is another way of being, that they don't have to constantly be in fight-flight. It's amazing how when we slow down and center ourselves, it creates a sense of spaciousness, and we almost have more possibility in that place. And we feel like we can actually manage just a little bit better when we're in that place. And so that's why it's so powerful. I believe that the link will be in the
in the comments, yeah.
Okay, because it's in the comments, because it's quite a long link to remember, so I'm not going to share that.
Kerry,
but
in
other things
your
people can do.
Yeah. What I wanted to find out from you in your own practice, how have you pivoted to the new normal? You know, because generally you'd be having clients coming into your office, you know, to have their one-on-one sessions. How has this affected you and the way that you now offer your services to your clients?
So I'm very fortunate. I can work online, and I had already started working online with a number of clients. So I worried initially that I wouldn't have the same connection, but I find that it's absolutely fine, especially with time and practice. Somehow I feel like that connection comes stronger. I can feel it more easily. And I also do something called BodyTalk, which is it's like kinesiology. It's using muscle testing to work out imbalance in the body and mind. And I can do that via distance work as well, which is quite amazing. And I usually do a lot of those sessions over distance. I have had 1 or 2 clients prefer not to meet online, and I respect that and I understand why they're like that. So, you know, in time, hopefully I'll be able to see those clients when the circumstances allow.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I think the way you have just been doing things, even your 5-day challenge is an example of pivoting. You know, just the ability to make sure that you still have sort of a conscious connection with your clients, and your clients can participate and engage with you has been a brilliant opportunity to pivot. I did want to jump in here with one other question that sort of has been coming up in our conversations with a lot of our viewers and the discussions that Bridgetti and I have been having with guests, is that you know, a lot of what you're asking to have happen will have to happen in people's homes. And you know, we were talking about it last night, about how, not the night before, about how the lines are blurring. You know, before it was your home. Now it's school room, it's a office, it's now going to be a therapy space. You know, it's all these different spaces. Is there a specific place that you should be looking for if we do take up the challenge, so that the ladies who do want to participate in the challenge know how to find that space? You know, we've got husbands and wives operating in the same home, you know, so everybody's got to sort of, everybody, like in the morning, you know, you sort of go to your corner. Is there a specific place and specific kind of context you need to find yourself in to make your challenge more meaningful?
I love that question. It is so important. And when I spoke about needing to have the masculine still in our lives, that containment, that is that's a healthy masculine quality. It's our boundaries. And it's so interesting because this has been coming up in my family. We already have quiet time signs, which my children know that if I put my quiet time sign on my door, that's my special time to just look after myself. And they know that they can do the same thing. My 5-year-old doesn't always listen to it, but my 7-year-old was having a day yesterday, and she just said to me, and she said, "Mom, I need you all to listen to my quiet time sign." So I think if we can just share with our family what is happening, and that we need this time, and even if you've got a quiet time sign or something you can hang on a door handle, and just say, for the 10 minutes that this is here, I just need some time to look after myself, because then I can be a better mother and a better wife as well.
That is such valuable, practical advice.
That's a really great.
Thanks for that. I think that's a great action that we can take immediately or implement immediately, you know, if we are feeling overwhelmed. And I think everyone does feel overwhelmed, and just to put those boundaries in place. And I like that you said it's not just us that need time out, the children need that quiet time as well, so that they can also center themselves.
I'm being facetious when I say this, but I may actually just wear my quiet time sign right here. Walk around with it for the day. But that is such great sorry, that is such great advice. I really, when you were saying it, it made so much sense to me, because a lot of the conversations Bridgetti and I have been having with ladies from the Cappuccino Club, with our guests, has been about just how do you calm the chaos, because for a lot of us, you know, it's the ebbs and tides. And so for many people, it's been a sort of slowest state. And every time there's an announcement by the president, it's almost as if psychologically and emotionally chaos erupts, you know. And if you can actually just try and have some level of consistency through all these ups and downs, it seems to make sound like that would make a lot of sense.
Definitely. You know, we can't control what's going on around us, but we can control our inner experience. And it's a conscious choice we have to make. So creating that space is putting things back in our own court, putting the ball back in your own court. It's giving yourself that power again. Yeah.
Awesome.
Kerry, we're running out of time. Thank you so much for sharing some very actionable tips and suggestions with us. How can people best reach out and connect with you?
So my website's probably the best option. That's www.kerrymagnus.net. There I share my service on there. I have a Facebook page as well, and there's information about the Nurture Challenge on that Facebook page, and I often share advice and tips and tools on there. And for those people who are struggling particularly with chronic fatigue and burnout, I've created a Facebook group, and the link for that will also be in the comments.
That is so cool.
Kerry, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And we hope that we can have you back again sometime in the future, because I think it is something we need to revisit from time to time, because sometimes we do find our way back, and then an event happens and we just get triggered again and things go out of control. So one's got to sort of from time to time make the time to rein things in again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us.
I think it's great, and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Just to chat through what the experience has been in terms of the 5-day challenge, what some of the feedback has been. I think it would be great to have that opportunity to just have that discussion. And it's all of us are talking about the fact that it's probably going to get more difficult before it gets easier. So it would be great to have you back just to let us know what sort of has happened over the 5 days. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And that would be lovely. Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us
Bye.
live today. And if you're catching the show on the replay, please say hello in the comments. And if you have found an innovative way to pivot, please tell us about it in the comments. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please also drop us a note. Thank you for watching. So from me, Bridgetti and Banda in Cape Town in South Africa, it's goodbye for now.
Bye-bye, everybody.